you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after after 22 years, Raymond Marsh!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Pierre, happy Friday to you, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. I apologize. I just got a text that I just took care of, and we're good.
No worries. No worries at all.
All is great. It's good to see you, Jimmy. And we're doing, both of us collectively, better than what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing right now.
We are. You want to go there first? Or you want to go to Toronto? What do you think?
I want you to go first.
All right. I want to go to Toronto because it was just so one-sided last night. So let's go to Toronto. Keith Pelley addressed the media today, and as you predicted and mentioned a couple times, you weren't sure whether or not they would have a middleman between the GM and himself. And it looks like as of now things can change. We never know. But as of now,
it's not changing. It's not changing. But
so as of now, Keith Pelley said there will be nobody taking Brendan Shanahan's spot. Your reaction to that is you've had time to digest that over the last hour or so.
Well, I think the biggest thing with Keith is he's hands-on. He's Toronto all in. And he's won a championship there. Nobody talks about this enough. I'm shocked at the media. I really am. He was the guy that ran the Toronto Argonauts when they won a Grey Cup. Mm-hmm. He put that thing back together pretty quickly. I spent a lot of time with him those years, and I'm telling you, he did. He's a really smart guy. He's really polished. He really respects Brad Treliving. He really respects Craig Berube. He asked some people away from that group, I'm sure, about what they think of the team. Mm-hmm. But I would just say that Keith is really smart. He's really tactical. He's really polished. And he will figure some things out as you go along. Rome wasn't built in a day.
No.
It takes a little time. So this is phase one. I don't have any inside info, but having worked for him, been found by him and signed by him, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Okay, you say Rome wasn't built in a day, but is he coming in to build from the ground up, in your opinion, or is this renovations?
No renovations necessary. You're always fine-tuning. So I think there's no need to strip this thing down. Toronto's a good team. And people are finding out now how good Florida is. Mm-hmm. And I'm convinced, and I said it on this show, and I said it to you a million times, if Sam Bennett doesn't run over Anthony Stolarz, we might not be having this discussion right now.
No, I'm with you.
That's how finite this thing is. So the Toronto roster is actually better than what people have given it credit for. Brendan chose to do what Brendan chose to do. Mm-hmm. Brendan's had enough time to distinguish himself as a president of hockey operations in Toronto. It didn't work out. Everybody that signs up to work in this league, it's a big boy league. Mm-hmm. You know exactly what could happen. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you this, it's not always fair.
No.
I've lived the unfairness part many times. It's not always fair.
I'd say it's a little more unfair than it is fair when all is said and done. Ironically, Pierre, we talk about Brendan Shanahan there, and he has been nonstop, rumored to be going to take on a similar position that he had with Toronto for the New York Islanders. So today they go out and they make it official that they've hired Mathieu Darche as their general manager. Congratulations
really
to him.
Good man. Really good man.
We'll
get to that.
We will. But there's also a story out there, according to Arthur Staple, that there will be no middleman between Darche and ownership there. Now, my question to you, just in general, this is a general question because we've spoken about this before, and we've spoken about how it can become a slippery slope if you don't follow that standard of owners own, managers manage, coaches coach, and players play, trainers train, and so on.
Yep.
Two teams potentially on the same day deciding to go against that. Do you think this could lead? I'm not specifying teams. I'm just saying, do you still think that when that happens, teams can get into trouble? Like it could lead to some trouble down the line. And I'm not asking you.
In Toronto, no. Brad Treliving's got a lot of experience.
Right.
You know, whether it was an assistant GM in Arizona, he ran the Western Professional Hockey League for a long time. He understands the rules and regulations of a lot of stuff. He ran Calgary. He worked
Right.
with Brian. He worked with Brian Burke. He's come to Toronto. His father's an amazingly successful entrepreneur. He grew up in that house. He's been surrounded by it.
Okay.
So I don't have any, and I know Keith.
And you know Keith well.
I don't care what anybody says. And there'll be people that are jealous people, and there are a lot of those. They'll take pot shots at Keith, and I'm just telling you right now, they're full of poop. Every single one of those guys are full of poop, or women. They're all full of poop.
Yep.
Okay? Pelley's a pro. He's a big time pro,
Yep.
and he knows he runs with the highest octane people around the world in sport. Doesn't matter if it's the Olympic Committee. Doesn't matter if it's Premiership Soccer people. It doesn't matter if it's NFL people. It doesn't matter if it's Major League Baseball people. It doesn't matter if it's NHL people. He won a Grey Cup as a president of a team in the CFL. This guy knows so much.
Yeah.
Trust me. So I think Toronto's fine that way.
Okay.
I'm not worried about them. The Islanders situation, this is another example of leakage, and more leakage.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to carry my bags?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, Pierre. It was leaked so much as if it was a certainty that Shanahan was going to go there, and then all of a sudden, it's like a 180 from some of the same people that were presenting it as a certainty
Because they got slapped down by the decision makers.
That's
And I will tell you right now, what is it? What is it? 4:10 now?
4:10 on May
4:11,
23rd.
So 2.5 hours ago, I got a call from somebody that I really respect and trust. And they said, not so fast on Shanahan.
Yeah.
I said, are you sure? Yep, I'm positive. It's okay.
So
And Jimmy, I never told you that, did I?
No.
And that doesn't mean down the road that something might not happen for Brendan,
Right.
because I thought it was happening for him too, based on the insiders
Mm-hmm.
that should know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going by what they were saying, because I didn't think when you're involved in the middle of a playoff, this is what really kind of gets me going. This is for our audience.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many hours you got to spend to really watch hockey games in the playoffs? And it's not just NHL. There are other ones too, whether it's World Championships, East Coast Hockey League, American Hockey League. It's a lot of hours.
Memorial Cup. Yeah.
It's a lot of hours.
Exactly.
You have time to be playing in these fantasy leagues of, oh, he's going here or he's doing this. You have time for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just go by what you send me from the social media pages.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that Mathieu Darche will do a very good job with the Islanders. I do. I've known him since he was a kid playing at McGill University. I wrote about him in Sports Illustrated.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a tremendous candidate. I think he's learned a ton working for Julien Brisebois. I think he's learned a ton working with John Cooper. I think he's learned a ton being part of Syracuse in the American Hockey League and learning about that. I saw him on the road plenty of times this season at U.S. college games, whether it was at Northeastern or BU or BC. I saw him in a lot of different rinks.
Mm-hmm.
He's working. He's out there.
So, and this is just from fans. This is nobody in my field or anything, Pierre. But some people ask, why was he turned down for so many jobs before?
I don't know. Ask me. Why you ask me? Why you ask me? Like, why were you turned down, Pierre, for so many jobs? I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Exactly.
I couldn't tell you. I was the bridesmaid probably 6 times in a row.
So here's what I'm going to ask you, because you've been in that situation, and I've seen it up front and personal. You take it and you learn from it and you make yourself stronger. What do you think has made him stronger? You can't answer for him what's made him stronger from those experiences, but what is that he was able to work longer? He didn't get those jobs. So because of that, he ended up still staying, working with Julien Brisebois. what attributes of Julien Brisebois impress you the most that you think probably rubbed off on him and has made him an even better manager and in a position to take over the spot he's taken now?
Internal knowledge of legal affairs in the league, really important. Understanding the salary cap, understanding the relationship between an American Hockey League team and an NHL team, understanding price points on certain players, the convoluted part of hockey that fans don't really want to pay attention to.
But
It matters a lot. And
Yeah.
Julian's as good as there is in that. Julian's a trained attorney.
Mhm.
And I would say Mathieu is not, but Mathieu has a high level of education. Mathieu went to the Choate Rosemary Law School, which is one of the top prep schools in all of North America. He went to McGill University, which is one of the top schools in Canada. He's perfectly bilingual. He's played in a lot of different markets. But I think the biggest thing you learn from Julien Brisebois is you learn about the bylaws of the league, you learn about the collective bargaining agreement, you learn about the salary cap, you learn about the relationship between the American Hockey League team and the NHL team, you learn about the price points on players and what they're worth when you're in a situation like they are with Syracuse, where they don't actually own the team.
Mhm.
So there's a different business part of that, and I don't want to get too into the weeds
Yep.
because I don't want to put people to sleep, but I'm pretty familiar with that, having done it a bunch of different times. So there's a lot of financial stuff. There's a lot of legal stuff. And I think he just keeps getting better and better at that all the time.
One of the things you always say to us here, Pierre, and I think you'd agree with me. I'm guessing too that one of the biggest things he learned from Brisebois was don't fall too in love with your players.
Well, I
Because
learned
that's
that.
been one of Brisebois' strongest assets is being able to know and pick the right spot when to move on. And, he moved on from arguably the biggest name in Lightning history.
Steven,
And Steven Stamkos. So
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a Scotty Bowmanism. I'm not going to don't fall in love with racehorses and hockey players because they're just like ex-wives. They'll just cost you money. So
There we go.
that's what happens. And so, I think Mathieu will be very successful with the Islanders.
Mhm.
Now the hard part starts relationship with the coaching staff. Does he keep Patrick Waugh? Does he decide to go a different direction? What does he do with Noah Dobson? How does he replace certain players? Brock Nelson's no longer there. How are you going to fill into the center ice position? You got some prospects, probably 6 of them coming along that are B+ or better. I'm going to say more like A- to A+. That's a
Right.
lot of prospects at that level. Do you turn them all pro right now, or do you let them, marinate a little bit longer? So he's in a good spot. I think Pelley handled himself well today. My biggest question about that is how fair is the Toronto media going to be to him?
Mhm.
How fair are they going to be to him? He didn't create this situation.
No.
He's inherited this situation. So how much time do you give him?
And it
I
seems
think
like a lot of them
he'll do
like
a real good job. I'll tell you one thing. You can go look it up, Jimmy. In terms of financial remuneration, no Olympics ever more successful Winter Olympics for Canada than 2010 in Vancouver. Not even close financially.
behind the scenes.
Not even close.
Yep.
He ran that thing
Yep.
for the TV networks. It's not even close.
Yeah.
So I worked for him. I know how smart he is. I know what he can do.
It's interesting, Pierre, and I'm not going to say the writer's name out of respect, but there's a writer in Toronto who less than 24 hours ago wrote a column basically defending Shanahan left and right and kind of snapping back at some of the criticism Shanahan's been getting in the last few days. And he just dropped a column right before we came on the air. Now it's saying Keith Pelley's the right man and this is going to work. And I'm
pretty familiar who that columnist would
be. I just find it interesting how, the pendulum sways in Toronto when it comes to media. It's something else. But anyway.
Well, no, I'll say is it depends on how fair they want to be. Because Keith knows how to fix things. Keith is a fixer. Does he have grandiose ideas? Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
Do they all work? No, they don't. Nobody's grandiose ideas always work. I can just tell you comfortably, and this is for all Leaf Nation. I'll say this on every show that I do. All Leaf Nation needs to understand that this guy is smart as all get out. He'll do a really good job. He will defer to the experts, and the experts right now are Brad Treliving and Craig Berube and his staff. They will decide the roster, and he will be a sounding board.
All right. Last question on this situation with the Leafs. You mentioned a roster there, and that was the last question I had there. Let's forget about Mitch Marner. That's what everyone's talking about right now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We both agree that they should bring back John Tavares. And if they can, find a 2C and slot him into the 3C spot.
Yep.
So then you get Matthews, whomever the 2C is, and Tavares 1, 2, 3 up the middle. But do you think they actually bring him back?
No. Marner?
No, Tavares.
Oh, Tavares? At their price point, not his.
But I don't think he's going to have a problem with that, Pierre. I think he's going to be. I just want to play him.
I personally, like, you tell me where you're going to find a better third center than him.
I'm with you.
At that price point, at the price point, and I think it comes down to price point and years. So term and price point. I don't, John, I think just wants to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. The way he handled the captaincy thing, the way he did that.
Yep. I mean,
how could you seriously? And I got no fight with the fans. Like, I respect. You can plaster me on whatever you do, X or whatever. What's it called, Jimmy? X
now.
Yeah. Okay. Go rip me apart.
It's called broken, by the way. It's been broken for like 2 days, but that's a whole other story.
If you want to rip me apart, go ahead. But I'm just telling you, you're not going to find a better person than John Tavares.
Yeah.
Just telling you. And people say, well, that doesn't make you a good hockey player. This guy's a good hockey player.
He's still a good hockey player.
He's still a good hockey player.
I thought he had probably his best year in the last few years last year.
But part of the problem was Austin didn't have a very good year for Austin standards.
Mm-hmm.
And that forced John into carrying a lot of the load, especially when Austin was hurt. And I think that affected John in the playoffs.
Right.
And this is what – so I know we're all over the map here, but this is part of why it's a fun Friday.
Exactly.
And we don't have a guest, so I'm excited to talk about hockey with you guys. Jimmy, think about like what Carolina's doing right now and what Florida's doing right now. Okay? John Tavares hung in there and swung right from the hip against the Florida Panthers for 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say he's the reason why Toronto didn't win.
No. I've got about 5 other reasons.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
There are about 5 or 6 other reasons why they didn't win.
All right. Well, good segue there, Pierre, because I think it's pretty obvious why Carolina is not winning right now against the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers are just in a zone and they're dominating. But the other thing is they're forcing Carolina, and this is how they win games. We saw it in the games they won that they dominated against, in games 5 and 7 against Toronto. They're forcing Carolina to play their game. It's unreal. And by the end of the game, if you want proof of that, go back and listen carefully to what the crowd was chanting at the end of the game, telling the team that shot the most on average throughout the season, shoot the puck.
Shoot the puck.
Okay, so when the team that's shot happy every game, almost to the point where I think I was on record at one point being like, sometimes they don't have to shoot. They shoot a little too much for me. It was almost like they just shoot to shoot. They're now afraid to shoot. They're now afraid to just give it a chance and see what happens if they throw it down in front of the net. They're thinking too much. And Florida, it's clear that Florida is in their heads right now, Pierre. And I don't know if when it becomes that mental, I don't know if you can come back from it. I really don't. I'm not saying the series is over, but they need to get back in their own minds and just, you know what? Even if they go out there and they play their own game and it doesn't succeed and they lose game 3 and they go, now, who cares? Just stay within your game. And Pierre, I said this to you and you don't have to comment on it. I understand because you have a lot of relationships in the league, but I am a bit stunned at the lack of, I don't know how to put this any other way, Pierre. And I mean no disrespect to Rod Brindamore right now, but just composure on the bench. I love his emotion. I don't want him to lose that. But at the same time, there's instances whether it's a bad call, he's disagreeing with the ref, he's getting caught up yelling at the ref too much, or a play doesn't go his way and the camera goes in on him and he's just losing it a bit. You can't do that. You have to keep it together, in my opinion, so the team keeps it together. I know that fans think that the coaches don't play much of a role, but I'm telling you, I text you, and then I actually text a former player last night who totally agreed with me, and he said, "Yeah, I'd be worried if I saw my coach acting that way. It translates. It rubs off on the players." I don't know if you want to comment on that. It's up to you.
For sure.
Okay.
I agree with everything you just said.
Okay. I just didn't want to put you in a bad spot.
You're not. No, look, we're partners for a reason.
Okay.
I respect a lot of what you say. Everything you say, even if I don't agree with you, I respect it. Rod's he's going to have to make some subtle changes, not so much in his decorum, but how they present the game plan for game 3. I thought game 2 was game 7 for them last night.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't come out to play game 7 last night. And I told you that on and off the air. Game 2 for Carolina is game 7 because they're playing in Carolina. And if that crowd turns on them, they're in trouble. The crowd turned on them real quick. Took 20 minutes. Took 20 minutes and the crowd turned on them. I feel terrible for the people there. They're really loyal, honorable fans. They're great fans. They are. They're really good fans. Got a lot of respect and time for them. That doesn't mean the team's any good. I told you before this season started, Jimmy, and I'm not backing off it. And if I got to eat the words, I'll eat them very, very proudly. This season was a referendum on analytics in Carolina. I told you that from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Did I not? I told you that when Eric Tulsky got hired.
Mm-hmm.
So they played against a beaten down and injured New Jersey team, and they beat them.
I'm glad you went there.
Okay. They played against a Washington Capitals team that probably was a tinge overrated.
Mm-hmm.
It was not as good as what their record was. And now they're playing against a real team. Like they're playing against a machine. They're playing against a machine. And these guys are savages. And I say that with the highest amount of respect. I did Jim Rome's show yesterday, and I talked about the organizational standards that they have in Florida and what Billy Zito has done there and Rick Dudley has done there and Paul Fenton has helped done there and their amateur scouts and what they've done and Paul Maurice and what they've done as a coaching staff. There, you can see it. You said it right away, the first couple sentences before I took over. They don't look comfortable.
No.
They don't believe. So the 3 things we've talked about a long time: concern, doubt, and fear.
Fear.
Okay. Carolina, concerned? You would agree?
Yes.
Do you think they're doubtful?
I think they're in the doubt stage.
They're in the doubt stage. Are they
not
close?
The fear stage yet.
They're not, but they're pretty darn close.
They're close.
They're pretty darn close.
They're close.
Once you get to fear, those 3, the series is over.
And how about this, Pierre? We know that Florida, sometimes they cross it, sometimes they don't. But probably out of any team in the NHL, maybe in sports, they walk the line when it comes to sending messages physically within the rules. Like I said, sometimes they slip over a bit, but nobody does it better when it comes to walking that line.
I've never seen a team do it like this.
It's unreal.
Because Paul, I will just say this, Paul Maurice, he's eloquent as all get out. He's clearly smart. He's a master manipulator.
He has the media wrapped.
He's a master manipulator of the media. The only guy I ever saw like this, that was good like this, seriously, was Ken Hitchcock.
Oh, yeah.
Ken was really good at this too.
Yep.
And he's in the Hall of Fame. But I'm telling you right now, and I said this to Jimmy, I got no problem saying this, and I would tell Paul right to his face, he's a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Yes. And that's said with praise. That is a compliment.
Total praise.
Yeah.
It's not the other way around.
No.
He's not a wolf. He's the other way.
Yeah. Yep.
And I say that with total respect and admiration. He has done a masterful job. The way he's painted himself and the way it's come across, you don't ever see or hear anybody booing him.
Nope.
Never.
No. Nope.
Some of his sound bites, if that's, let's just say for the sake of argument, I don't know, Brian Sutter or Ken Hitchcock
Yep.
or Scotty
Or Pat
or
Burns.
Daryl Sutter,
Uh-huh.
Mike Babcock,
Yep.
Joel Quenneville, if they say any of this stuff and then their teams do the same stuff, they're going to get booed.
Oh, they're going
every
to get
single night,
crucified. The
right?
PC crowd will eat them for lunch.
Crucify them.
Yeah. Yep.
There's no negativity towards him.
So here's my caution to Carolina then, right? There, you can't do that like Florida, right? You're not going to be able to walk that
No.
line and get away with it.
No.
And you see what Aho did there last night on Reinhardt. Very borderline play. Some would argue dirty. I'm not going to put, that's what I've seen some call it. I'm not going to call it that, but all I'm going to say is it looked to me, it's like, oh, okay, if they're going to play that game, we can't. No, you can't, because you will fail. Like, be yourself. Don't try to be your opponent because your opponent's beating you. Be yourself. And if yourself isn't good enough, then so be it. That would be my advice to them.
I was really shocked at Svechnikov's start to the game.
Oh,
You know,
jeez.
2 terrible turnovers, just didn't look comfortable.
He's off kilter.
I didn't like Aho's hit on Reinhardt.
like it.
Didn't like that. Didn't like that. I'm just telling you. This is to your point. Like, you
Yeah.
talk about guys playing out of character.
Yep.
They're playing out of – okay, so you know how bullish I've been on Jacob Slavin. I'm not jumping on because of the Four Nations event. I was bullish on
You've always
Jacob
been,
Slavin
yeah.
forever, like
Yeah.
pushing for him to get the Lady Bing forever and even be in the Norris discussion. 6-7 years ago, I was pushing for this. Do you think he's playing well?
No.
He's playing bad.
No.
I haven't heard one guy. See, if I was doing the games, you want a picture of why Carolina's struggling? He and Burns are struggling, man.
Yeah. They look tired, Pierre.
They're struggling. Well,
Yeah.
because they've been beat down by this team that's a runaway
Yeah.
Goliath. Florida's legit big time good. They're gonna, if they win the cup this year, you cannot say that in a salary cap world, they're not a dynasty. You cannot.
Oh, they're a
say-
dynasty.
They're if in the cap now they have to win this series, which
They
they
do.
haven't done yet. Then they got to win the cup. And I'm prepared to say, you go to the final 3 times in a row and you win the cup 2 times in a row.
Mhm.
Revert. So the reverse is Tampa, which I think is a dynasty. Tampa won it 2 years in a row. One was in the the pandemic stuff,
Yep.
and then they lost to Colorado,
Excuse me.
but they went 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
But it's reversed. So now Carolina loses to Vegas 2 years ago. They win last year, and if they win this year, Florida, Florida wins.
Mhm.
That's a dynasty, man.
Oh,
In
yeah.
the salary cap era.
Think of the travel too. Imagine
Well,
if they had
everything.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for what they've done there. And
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier. I've never told too many people. Mr. Viola is a great guy.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Viola, I'm just telling you, like I've known him. I talked to him about going to work there many years ago, about 10, 11 years ago. Very, very good person. Very
Mhm.
good person.
He's done wonders for that franchise. Quickly, before we get to our sponsors and my picks and the Q&A, Pierre, you brought up just how great this team is and that they could become a dynasty. Well, today they announced that Bill Zito once again is a candidate for GM of the Year for the Jim Gregory Award,
Yep.
along with Cheveldayoff and Jim Nill. I myself don't know how you don't give it to Bill Zito. And I'm not basing this on what they're doing in the playoffs right now. I'm just saying on what he did to set up for another run in bringing in Seth Jones leading into the deadline. And then at the last minute at the deadline, bringing in Brad Marchand. And, when you're listening to Paul talk about how that all went down, Paul Maurice, that is, where, it was very last minute. He came to him and he said, hey, I think we can get this guy, but, he's a strong personality, obviously. And they just talk about how he was able to identify that even though it's a strong personality, he's going to fit in perfectly. That's managing. You can always identify talent, right? But being able to identify what people will fit into your dressing room and be able to blend in and be part of that team, that's a whole nother talent, Pierre, that I think you'd agree with me.
Oh my gosh, you nailed that, Jimmy. That's so good. That's the art of being a manager. It's team building. It's being an understanding of, hey, once the dressing room dynamic is affected, there's 2 ways you can go. You can go positive or negative.
Yep.
So you got to trust what your coaches say, and that's making them inclusive, being part of the deal. when we got Rick Tocchet and Shell, like it wasn't exactly like we're bringing in friendly neighbors.
No.
The Pittsburgh Philly thing is pretty nasty.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like there were a lot of guys in our team that were in love with, Rick.
Yep.
I'm just being honest with you. I would tell Rick the same thing. He probably knows. But that's why I went and picked him up at the airport, and we did the whole debrief, him and Shelley, and have breakfast and
the
boom,
breakfast,
to the room, and we had breakfast as a group, and then in the room and meet Scotty, and they were ready to go, and the guys loved them.
Yep.
But
and don't forget who you were trading away.
Well, yeah, we were trading
popular guys.
Pretty Mark Recchi and Paul Coffey.
Yeah.
Like pretty cool guys in our room.
Yep.
So when I knew Marchand was going there, I didn't know they were playing him at Lusterinen in Lundell.
Oh my gosh.
I had no idea they were doing that.
Yeah.
But you see that and you're like, okay, so here's 1, 2, 3 down the middle, buckle up.
And then put
you got to deal with that. Do centers. Just do centers.
Yep.
You're dealing with Barkov. You're dealing with Bennett. You're dealing with Lundell. And then you're dealing with Nosek. and watch Nosek and Greer and Gadjevich.
Oh,
like that's their fourth line.
Yeah.
They're barbarians at the gate, man.
Yep. And not just that, they're smart.
But they get their role. So
Yeah.
they don't, and they're not going to complain, Jimmy. You might play 4 minutes. You might play 11 minutes, but you're not playing more than 12.
Yeah.
You're not. And they know it. They all know it. And they're there and they're like, Coach, put me, I'm ready. I'll do 3 minutes. Don't worry. I'll get my guy. Don't worry, Coach.
Yeah. So that would be my vote. I would give it to Zito, and that's nothing against the other two candidates. They've done a great job.
All three of them. Chevel has been great.
Yeah.
Winnipeg, I think.
Jimmy Nill.
Jimmy Nill's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, how about getting Granlund?
And Granlund, that's right. That kind of falls under the radar.
Guys,
here,
that's way under the radar. You're exactly right. And then you look at obviously what Billy did. But, if you look at the whole thing, there are other teams too. Like, I think what Billy Guerin did in Minnesota this year was really good. Like, there are a lot of guys. There are a lot of guys that have done really good work. It's just like the coaches.
Yeah.
There are a lot of coaches that did a good job. So I know you want to get moving here. So
let's do it. Let's get to our sponsors right now. TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For no obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. Again, sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. And of course, our wonderful gambling sponsors, Betway, where you can still go all the way with Betway on your first bet if you are a new member, and you will get up to $200 even if your first bet loses. So if you're watching right now, you see that QR code right in front of you, go right there and go create your new account. Or if you're listening, go to the website, click on the details section to create your new account and redeem the welcome offer there. This offer is not available in Ontario. Again, it is only available for new customers. You must be 18 plus, and you must always bet responsibly. Let's go to my sick pick of the night.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Betway.
All right. Well, it didn't work in game one because Dallas just came back and busted that game open in the third period with 5 goals and went away to a 6-3 victory. But I'm looking at it after our conversation with Jack Michaels, Pierre, and I thought he made some good points. If you take away the power plays, overall, Edmonton did play a lot of their game. They weren't that bad. They played a solid game. And I think if they can continue to do that, and if they have buried what happened in game one and they've moved forward, I think they're still going to have a great game here. Whether they win or not, I don't know. I think this is a toss-up. It's pretty much a pick 'em. If you want to take Dallas to win, you get them as a small favorite at -115. If you see them winning by 2 goals, you can get them -1.5 at +205. If you think Edmonton's going to win, you can get them at -105. But I'm still feeling, I don't know why, I'm obsessed. I want to see overtime. I'm crazy. I love playoff overtime. Give me the draw again at +300. And as we said yesterday, and Pierre agreed with me, I think Leon Draisaitl's going to have a little chip on his shoulder tonight. You can go right over to the points section in the prop section there, and you can get Leon Draisaitl to get 2+ points. So he gets 2+ points. It's plus 120 value. I think he does that. He might even get 3. And if he does that, and you like that, you get him at plus 400. So those are my picks of the night for game 2 in the Western Conference Final. Let's get to your Q&A. All right, Kevin McClafferty, our Islanders fan. Happy MDW. Well, the Shanahan Islanders dream may be dead for now, but we hired Mathieu Darche as a GM. What do you guys know about him? And please tell me he's smart enough to pick Schaefer number 1. Pierre, I think we said we're big fans of him. We like what he does. We like what he's bringing in terms of the influence from Brisebois. And yes, I do think he'll go with Schaefer number 1. I don't know that, but I do think
I think that's hard to speculate because I haven't talked to Matthew about that. Because you never know. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and you don't know what they're going to do with Noah Dobson. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen. But if you were to ask me if I was getting the job, I would take Schaefer.
Yeah.
He's the best player that's going to have instantaneous and long-term impact, barring injury, in the league. The other guys are all good, but he would have, yeah.
All right. Next question. Franco, what's up, Frank? Is the Panthers-Kane series a reflection of the differences between the Atlantic and Metro divisions? Interesting question.
Keep hearing that from a lot of hockey people, Frank. So I think you're onto something there. I've told so many people that the Atlantic is the best division in hockey. I think the Metro's the worst. Right with the Pacific, they're about equal. That's going to change next year. Pacific's going to be really good. You know, with Kenny going into LA and Joel Quenneville going into Anaheim, I think San Jose will be better. I'm not saying they're going to be world beaters, but they'll be better. You know how proactive Vegas is going to be. Mm-hmm. I don't know where Seattle's going. At this point, they don't know either. They don't have a coach.
Yeah.
Vancouver should be better. I think Adam will do a good job there, but we'll see. But I think the Pacific will be better. But I do think the Metro is below the Atlantic. There's no question.
I agree as well. All right, next question. Franco again. You're the agent of Jesperi Kotkaniemi. What are you telling him? And can you help us understand what has gone wrong in the development of Kotkaniemi?
He was overrated coming into the draft.
Agreed.
He hit a home run his draft year in 2019. He hit a home run at the World Junior or the World Under 18 in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And Mark Bergevin and his staff overrated him. That's all. Yep. He was overrated his draft year.
Yeah.
So, and then I don't know why Carolina got involved in this silly thing they did, but they chose to do that. I don't know why they did that. They chose to do that. That's not the kid's fault. That's not the kid's fault at all. If you're that kid, you're taking that money.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you? So I see this is where everybody wants to blame the player. I don't blame the player.
Yeah.
I blame the people that did it.
I always revert back to my Marty LaPointe story. That's all. There you go.
We agree.
All right. Next question. Peter Mendakaros. Pierre, 2 or 3 pros and cons about Dobson.
Pros can run a power play. Pros, he can make a great first pass coming out of his own zone. Negative, marginal lateral movement in defensive situations. Negative would be establishing slot area presence, not strong enough right now. And not really good body position in those situations, and doesn't have a great gap in the neutral zone. I'm looking with him. He's part of the profile you have to win.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more positives on him than negatives, but the negatives are more about what he does without the puck than what he does with the puck.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, do you see teams taking the president position out?
No,
No,
you have to have it now, Randy. I think the biggest thing is dealing with the media and the corporate clientele that you have. And if the general manager is being counted on to do that and run hockey, it's too much. You'll spread yourself too thin and you won't be effective at either. I think every team should have. I won't even pretend. When I went to Ottawa, part of why I went to Ottawa was I had a clearly defined role from the owner at the time. And a week into it, I found out that the role that was being created for me had evaporated. How that happened, I don't know, but it did. And so you got to be really careful when you go into those situations. That's all.
All right. Next question. Franco again. Who are your top 6 D-men, assuming no changes for the Canadians next season, and what side are they playing?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, Matheson's one of them. Lane Hudson's one of them. Caden Gooley's one of them. I got to think Arbor Jack Guy's one of them. Arbor's going to. So I would say Lane, Matheson, and Arbor going to be on the left side. On the right side, I mean, probably Caden. Caden's going to be on the right side no matter what. I think Reinbacher and maybe Logan, but I got to think they're bringing in a veteran. Those would be the guys that I would look at right now, and then I think they bring a veteran in.
All right, next question. Steve Lash, you're never in trouble until you lose on home ice. Carolina has now lost both games on home ice. Concern, fear, and doubt, have those crept in yet? Yep. We think they're at the doubt stage right now.
Yeah, fear's the last one.
Yep, but they're getting there.
They're getting there in a hurry. But now they lost, plus you lose twice at home. That's a hard one to bail out of, especially against the defending champs. Now, who knows? Maybe Florida lets their guard down. Just remember this, Jimmy. I thought about this today. They beat Toronto in Game 7 handily.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Carolina in Game 1 pretty handily. They smacked Carolina bad in Game 2. So they've been on the road Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thursday. They're back home now.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens usually in the first game back after a long road trip?
You're flat.
Mm-hmm.
First period's huge.
So we'll see how this goes. But if they dominate the first period, this series is over fast.
Yep. Carolina needs to win the first period.
They got to win the first 20 minutes.
Yep.
If they don't win the first 20 minutes, they're in trouble.
All right. I totally agree. Next question. Kevin Krause. Coach Maurice mentioned during his second period interview, players are running the game. What did he mean by this?
They're in charge. The players are playing. Well, you go ahead, Jimmy, first.
Well, I do know he's touched on this a couple times, and I don't know if this is what the question is getting at. But I do know, I don't know if you saw this, Pierre, that before Game 7, him and Berube made an agreement they wouldn't go through the handshake line because they felt the players deserve it more than them and all that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he's getting at. He's had this common theme where he's like, look, I'm the coach. I don't want to take away from what they're doing. They're out there executing what I give them. They're out there, though, in those battles. They're out there beating each other up. So I feel like that's what he's getting at. I don't think it was so much like, because some people might be misinterpreting it as saying they're running the asylum. It's not as a negative connotation. I think it was more of a compliment.
I think it's a compliment. And not only that, the players are playing on the ice and they're playing to the style they need to play to. So no, Paul, like, again, I'm going to go back to what we talked about before. Paul's been masterful.
He has.
And he's learned so much over time. And that's what happens when you get veteran people running your team.
Mm-hmm.
He's learned a lot, and it wasn't all peaches and cream for him for a long time in this league.
No,
it was pretty tough.
Yep.
People, Jimmy, how many people know that he actually coached in Russia?
I do, but I'm sure not a lot.
How many people know that his assistant in Russia was Tom Barrasso?
I did not know that.
Mm.
There you go.
So, I know where the bodies are buried around this league. That guy had a hard track, his time when he coached in Toronto wasn't good.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't good.
Yeah. He said he was talking about Marchand, Pierre, and he talked to him, I guess, when he arrived in Florida. And he's like, look, he didn't want to leave Boston. Boston's in his blood. It's in his heart and all that. But he did admit, he knew his season wasn't going anywhere. And when he got traded and it got down there, he started to mix in and see what they're doing and see how they play and see what the dressing room's like. He said, it was fun to watch him kind of find it again and be revitalized. And he was talking about, he said, I've seen it. Guys, like I saw it with players when I was in Hartford or I was there and other teams that are kind of playing out the season. And it's nice to see veterans like that at the end of their career get another chance. So I thought that was really interesting the way he can only give that perspective because he has so much experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. All right. Next question. Pete, question. Today I learned that by the book, drawing blood with a high stick does not automatically warrant a double minor, yet that's become the precedent. Can you explain why and how this happened? I don't have an answer for that, P. I thought it
I
did.
have no idea. couldn't tell you.
Huh.
I have
All right,
no
I'll look
idea.
into that.
I've never, with
I've
all,
always thought it did.
yeah, me too. So I apologize. I don't know that one.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, what do you think Brendan Pridham is? As a
He's
GM?
been, so just so everybody knows, Randy's going inside baseball here.
Yep.
Brandon worked as an assistant manager with Toronto. He's he's really good friends with Kyle Dubas. His son's a heck of a player. His son's committed to Boston University. Started the season in West Kelowna in the BCHLs. Moved over to the Kitchener Rangers. Had a huge year in Kitchener. The young man's a very good player. I don't know whether his father can be a GM or not. I know one thing: his father understands the numbers of the game really well. That I know. For sure.
All right, next question. Big Bill, Pierre and Jimmy, playoff ratings on ESPN are down 28% this season compared to last season. Any thoughts and opinions on why? I have a lot. I'm not going to get into it right now. Pierre, you can comment if you want.
Well, they're down this year. What were they last year?
They weren't that great last year either. You know, the only thing I'll say about that is they're down. That's fact. So deal with it. And that's that. It happens. Like, I just don't like the denial. That's all. All right. Next question. Juice_031-017. What are your thoughts on the AHL playoffs right now with Hershey getting swept by Charlotte? End of a dynasty there, huh?
Yeah. Well, Hershey very much, well, for that 100%. Washington goes out in the second round. Hershey goes out early, which they're not used to. They've won back-to-back Calder Cups. And, Todd Nelson's a tremendous coach there. He's a really, really good coach. A former Penguin, somebody I had the honor of coaching. I like Laval a lot. I like them probably in December to win the whole thing. We'll see whether they do or not. Charlotte's good. They did some really good stuff with college free agents. One of them is Brett Chorsky, who came out of Colorado College, transferred to Colgate, and finished his last 2 years at Colgate. He's a big hulking guy. His father was a first-round pick of Montreal, played in the NHL for a long time, Tommy Chorsky. So they did some nice stuff with that in terms of additions in Charlotte. They got a really good coaching staff there. Fans are really into it. The way they beat Hershey, I mean, that's a sweep. That's not easy to do. That's pretty impressive. Yeah. I would say it's going to be tough to beat Laval, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
It happens. All right, next question. Paul Cormier, do you think that Kent Hughes will give up one or both of his first-round picks to get a second-line center and quite possibly an established right D?
I think you guys are overpricing the market, though, Paul. Don't overprice the market. I think he'll give up one first-round pick and maybe a prospect, but it depends who the player is. You get like to say, oh yeah, there's a two. Let's just take a number 2 center. What happens if you could get? I don't know. Who do you think the best second center is around for Montreal? Like if you had to pay for it, I don't know.
I don't know who's out there. I don't.
That's what I mean. Like you don't. Yeah. So I'm not prepared to say.
And I agree with you, Pierre. Like I think we've established. Like I get it. They've got 2 picks, but those picks have been thrown around like candy. Like Pierre says, I mean, they're not as valuable as they used to be.
Not this year. They aren't.
They're not.
Next year they'll be more valuable.
Oh, yeah. Next year, huge.
Next year they'll be a lot more valuable. This year they're not as valuable, just because it's the way it goes with the players.
I think the prospects is what's going to get your second line center. They have some great prospects, so depends which ones they're willing to.
Let me ask you a question. This is for Montreal fans.
Yep.
Let's just say Carolina loses and they get swept and they lose 16 straight games in the final of the East, which is they're trending towards now. And they want to shake it up, and you're Montreal. What would you pay for Sebastian Aho?
Wow.
What would you pay for him?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because I'll tell you one thing. If you want a second center who knows how to win, he does, and is no fun to play against, as people are finding out, because most people don't watch. Like, let's not pretend here, folks. Most of you do not watch Carolina play unless they're playing against your team. You don't. We get it. He's a good player.
1, 2, 3 seasons left at 9.
That's right. He's got 3 seasons left on his deal. What would you pay to get him, Jimmy?
I think Mayu would have to be in there. I wouldn't want to give him up, but you gotta give to get. I think something's coming off your NHL roster for sure.
So you're gonna have to pay to get him.
You're gonna have to pay big.
So it's probably a 3-component deal. It's probably a draft pick,
A prospect.
it's probably a prospect, and it's probably an established NHL player.
They're not going to want Doc because of his injury history.
But he makes money.
And he makes money.
But you see what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to show people, like, so if you were to ask me, like, who's a player that I would want as a second center, he would be one of the guys I would try to target.
And it's good you bring that up, Pierre, because I do think that, if they end up getting swept here or even go out in 5.
They're going to be in Toronto mode. Like, the fans are getting hostile there. You think about how nice those people are in Carolina. They're really nice people.
I thought about the same thing, Pierre. I've never seen them turn on their team like that.
They turn on their group.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that happened, but it happened.
They're like college football fans, right? They're so supportive. They're so fun. It's a college football atmosphere, and it's rare that you'll see a college football crowd turn on their team, even when they're getting smoked. Yeah. So Pierre's right. We'll see. All right, next question.
That's it's a good question, and I'm just thinking here with no notes. I'm going
locking
that's a guy. That's a guy that I would want.
Yep. Interesting. All right, next question. Big Bill.
Laval's going with Fowler.
Laval's going with Fowler tonight. I think it's healthy, rotating.
Yeah, because you got to remember, Bill, it's the American Hockey League. So the job of the American Hockey League is to cultivate players, to get them ready for the next step, and also to try to play as many games as possible. So they're in a good position. They're up 2-1. And I'm not really questioning whether Fowler can perform. I think he can. So I would encourage that. But as a manager, I never, especially in the playoffs, I never tell my coach who to play. No chance. No chance. Yeah. I think this is all Pascal Vincent making this decision. There's no way Jeff Gordon or Ken Hughes is telling him who to play. No chance.
I have no issue with it. They're both great goalies. All right, next question. FFFF. Guys, what happens to Brendan Moore if he loses in 4 games? Is it his fault, or is it the type of players he was given?
I would say it's a combo.
Yeah, it's a combo. I think anything is in play if this continues to go this way.
And I
it's
know
not there yet. So
Jimmy tells me all the time, like, I know, and I'm not trying to pick a fight with any of you in the analytic world. I said it before the season, so I'm not hedging my bet. When Eric Tulsky took over in Carolina, he said it straight up. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my words, and I will apologize. I think this entire season for Carolina is a referendum on analytics. I'm not changing that. I'm sorry. That's how your team was built. That is, you've been there for a long time. You trumpeted the analytics stuff. Good. I gave you every opportunity to try to win. Let's see if you win or not. You're down 2-0. Doesn't mean you can't win, because I think they can. But until they prove it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is, I will continue to say, Jimmy, you're my witness. Yep. I've been saying this on the air for.
And he'll admit when he's wrong. If he's wrong, he does.
It's a referendum on analytics in Carolina. That's all I'm going to say. If they get swept, it doesn't work.
There's going to be changes. All right. Next question. Steve Lash, Pierre, and Jimmy, have you spoken about the Blast Hill hiring in Chicago? A little. Didn't see that one coming. Any connection with him and Davidson? Also, don't look now, but Pecker was hired as an assistant. That was a great hire.
We talked about that yesterday. I talked to Michael via text yesterday, so we did, Steve. But thank you for bringing it up. That's fine. Well, first of all, don't forget Chris Chelios is from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Played for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm.
Who did Chris Chelios work for when he was part of the Red Wings?
Excuse me.
And he was coaching with Jeff Blashill as an assistant. And when Jeff was the head coach in Grand Rapids, who was a skill development coach for their defensemen? I'll tell you, Chris Chelios.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So if you wonder how there was a tie-in,
Dots. Yep. Yep.
that's a good. I think Jeff will do a very nice job there. The way you have to look at Chicago, they have 10 top-level prospects already signed prospects. Of those 10, 9 of them are college-trained players. One, Connor Bedard, is from the Western Hockey League. But their next 3 top prospects, starting with Sasha Boisvert, Jimmy, they're all college players.
Yep.
Their next 3 high-end prospects are all college players. So that's, I get why they bring in Blashill. I totally understand that. And Anders Sorensen, who's a very good coach, he's staying on as an assistant. And Michael, and we talked about this yesterday, Michael will make their face. So all those young centermen there, starting with a kid like Ryan Green out of BU, he'll make all those centermen better. Connor Bedard, he'll make all those guys better. Michael will. Michael Pekka, he will.
Yeah.
It's a good staff. Solid staff. Yep.
All right. Next question. Juice_031-017. If Carolina doesn't win the series, what offseason moves can they make to get over the hump and finally make the Stanley Cup final? Should they be in the Marner sweepstakes?
My question is, are they going to be good enough on defense? Brady Shea left to go to Nashville. Brett Pesce went to go to New Jersey. Brent Burns is pushing 40. Like, where are they going on defense? Tony DeAngelo left there. Like, start looking at all the NHL bodies that they lost, Jimmy, on defense. I don't know if they're going to be good enough on defense. I just don't know.
Yep. Good call. Next question. Randy Workman, Pierre and Jimmy. I remember Pierre telling me character of a prospect is huge for his growth. How do you teach them that?
You don't.
You don't. And they either have it or they don't.
They neither have or they don't. But what you can do is teach them work habits. You can teach them work habits, and you surround them with character people.
Mm-hmm.
But you can teach them work habits. But that's why teams have development camps.
Yep.
People say, why do they bring these kids in for 3 days and they do this and do that? That's why they do it.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Next question. Ethan Russell, do you see the Bruins offer sheeting a few players? Going to need to do something in the summer to get make them contenders next year? Laugh. Don, I think the reason Ethan's asking this is Don Sweeney did a one-on-one with Steve Connor. I don't know if you read it, Pierre. I sent it to you. Hinted a bit at that. Said he wonders maybe it could be a tool that's used a bit more now. I don't. I'll believe it when I see it. That's all I'll say. I don't see them doing that. We'll see. There's a lot of things that needs to happen there before I even think about the roster. All right, next question.
I'm glad you answered that.
P, question. Do you think Ottinger outplaying Hellebuck in the second round opens the door for Ottinger as a starter for the Olympics? It doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt at all. And I think Ottinger is going to play great tonight.
Yep.
I think he's going to play very well the rest of the playoffs, however long they may last for Dallas, which I think could be a long time. And he just is at another level right now. Yep. So
I love the way he's playing right now.
He's playing superior hockey right now. He really is.
He's in a zone and he's doing it quietly.
He's doing it a year after I thought he would. I thought he'd do this last year.
Me too.
And I
was
got it completely wrong. I'll be honest. I got it wrong last year.
But maybe last year.
Maybe that helped him get to where he is. But I will just say it right now. I got him wrong last year.
Yep.
Because I thought he'd be the guy
I did as well
last year. I really did.
And I thought Hellebuck would get over the hump too.
I did not. I
was wrong on that.
I did
All
not.
Right. Next question. P, question. Do you think players will ever prioritize rest over the Olympics, World Cup, Four Nations, or will representing your country in a best-on-best tournament always be the top priority for
they'll never blow off the Olympics, and they'll never blow off a World Cup. The Four Nations thing should not have happened.
I don't think it's going to happen again either,
it should not have happened. And you know what? I know we're running against the grain here, and I get it. And I know people will be mad at the league office, and I'm sure their TV network people will be mad at us too. I don't care. Who did it benefit? Didn't benefit a lot. It didn't benefit Vegas, tell you that right now. Didn't benefit Ottawa, tell you that right now. Go look at some of the teams that had severe injuries coming out of there. How's Toronto feeling with Austin Matthews?
Boston too.
Boston, like go down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, next question. Ethan Russell, question. How much is GM's job about taking risk? I look at Bill Zito and some of the risk he has taken that's paid off big time. Ethan, you're dead on. It is, but it's calculated risk.
Smart by Jimmy. Great line by Jimmy. Calculated risk. You have to have intel. That's why I'm shocked more of these people. They spend so much money hiring all these analytics guys. How about hiring people that actually know where the players come from and their backgrounds?
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Mm-hmm. All right, next question. The Sedita 17. How big a loss has Jalen Chatfield been for the Hurricanes to start the series? That's a great call by the Sedita 17.
Substantial.
Yeah, he would make a big difference for them against this team.
Substantial. Great. That's a great
observation.
Take. Great take. Yep.
All right, next question. Gabriel Lamb. Will Martin Madden Jr. get a GM job in the future?
It's really hard for those guys. Look, he's a great amateur scout. His father, I worked against his father and traveled around with his dad. His dad was a tremendous scout. This kid's a really good scout. He's done a magnificent job for Anaheim. It's hard to say whether he'll get an opportunity or not. If I would tell you this right now, I feel very comfortable saying if there was ever a team in Quebec, right into Quebec City tomorrow, he would be the leading candidate for the job.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, this kid's really good at what he does. It's not that easy. There are only 32 jobs. There are a lot of really very, very strong people around that can do these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get an interview is pretty special.
It's huge.
To get a second interview in a lot of these things is unbelievable. It's kind of like people say, well, this person passed away and he was a 4-time Emmy nominee, but he never won.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is to get an Emmy nominee?
Yeah. Who was that actress, Pierre, when we were younger? She was like a soap opera actress.
Erica. Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah, she was from All My Children.
Oh.
She was, a little tiny lady. She's still alive too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
She's still living. She's still living.
And everybody would cheer for come on, this has got to be the year.
I think eventually she did win one, though, Jimmy.
Her real name was Susan Lucci.
Susan Lucci. Yeah. Was she Erica on the show?
Erica on the show.
Erica on the show.
Now we know that Pierre watches soaps, everybody.
No, back in the day, I did for sure when I was playing.
Like the scene in Slapshot in the bar, remember?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't in the bar, but yeah, that's good.
All right, next question. Down at the Aces.
Hold on, wait a second. Pull this question out. I took my team to the Aces. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
So Nicky Foligno was coaching Johnstown.
Yeah.
And we came in there. We were going Johnstown, Wheeling, Dayton, Toledo, and then back to Baton Rouge. And I told the boys, you give us a game. It was an afternoon game in Johnstown. And Nicky was coaching Johnstown. And we beat them. We beat them pretty good. Our guys play well. I told the boys, you guys play well because, they got per diem. I said, I'm taking you to the Aces. It wasn't called the Aces, something else, but it was the Aces. I said, I'll take you over there, and I will take care of 1 hour. 1 hour, and then we're getting on the bus, and we're going to Wheeling. And I did. And we had such a good – and awesome. I'll never forget this. The owner said to me, I can't thank you enough for coming in. I go, don't all the teams come in? And he goes, no. He goes, they're too strict right now. They don't want to do that with their players. I'm like, where are my guys going to go? They're coming from the Aces onto the bus, and we're going to Wheeling. Like, where the hell are they going to go?
I love it. So
we did that. And you know who's coaching in Wheeling then? The late, great Tommy McVie.
Oh, God bless.
And I remember we pull into town.
He's an Aces type of guy.
Oh, Tommy. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
Tommy was an Aces kind of a guy.
Rest in peace.
And Tom, I've sat and had coffee with Tommy before the game. Like, you don't do this in the NHL. Sit in Tommy's hour drinking. What do you think of this? Because he had the growly voice. What do you think of this guy? PD, what do you think of that guy?
Like Johnny Most.
Oh, we had Sal. Like, those are moments you just remember forever.
That's
so
great.
much fun. The older guys.
My buddy Jay and I always have it. He says, what'd you do today, Murph? And I always say, well, I was going to go down to the Aces, but I said, bleep it,
So I did. I took my team into
That's
the
great.
All right, put that other question.
All right. What's the next question? Sorry. Ethan Russell, do you see Zach Metza getting a chance in the NHL? Big part of that Quinnipiac National Championship.
I wish he was a little bigger, Ethan. I think Zach's a really good player. My son, just again being transparent, my son played against him for 2, I think, excuse me, of Zach's 4 years. And they had some pretty good, healthy collisions over those 2 years. I wish he was just a little bigger, but I do think he's got the potential to play for sure. He's a Minnesota kid. He's from Minnesota.
Yep. All right. Next question. Mendel, Pierre, why has Gerard Gallant struggled to find a consistent place to coach, given he has solid seasons and records?
I don't think he wants it. I don't know how much he wants to do it anymore. I think he's a great coach. I know one thing. He's a great person. Yep. And I would say this. When Lalonde got the job in Detroit, I was really surprised that Steve Eisman didn't hire Gerard Gallant. I was really surprised he didn't hire him. I think Gerard's outstanding, and he's a really honorable person. I've had nothing but great visits with Gerard Gallant, so I couldn't speak to it. It's a funny – employment in the National Hockey League is a funny deal.
Yes, it is. In all fields. All right, next question. Derek Rendell again. I could see Calgary and Montreal connecting this summer. Rasmus Anderson, Nazem Kadri. The Habs have the pieces to do such a thing. Totally agree with you. And I know we keep going back to this Kadri. I think he'd be a great fit. I agree with Pierre. I just don't know if he's available. We got to find that.
I don't know if Rasmus is either, honestly. Yeah. That is those are 2 good names. Those would be 2 solid point. It really is. But I just don't know. I don't know if they're available. Honestly, I don't know.
We will see. All right. That's it. Awesome questions today. Great stuff. Some great points there. Thanks to Shane working the boards up in Montreal. And thanks to everyone there listening and watching. Pierre, enjoy the hockey tonight. You in Florida still? Or are we moving again? Or
no, I'm in Florida till next week. Got a wedding in Boston next week.
That's right.
Big wedding in Boston next week.
Might have to meet up with our good friend John Caron.
Well, we're gonna on Thursday, I think, is the plan.
All right.
So we'll talk.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, my flight lands probably around like 2:40 in the afternoon on Thursday.
Okay.
So I don't know if we'll figure it out.
All right.
I don't want to bore people.
No, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
I think I know where you're going, though. All right.
I'll talk to you later.
Everyone have a wonderful weekend and a safe weekend out there. And before I go, happy anniversary to my sister, Erin, and her.
Yeah. Hey, Erin, happy anniversary.
10 years.
Hey, Jimmy, before we go, though, and I know you come from a military family, I just want to say thank you to all the families out there. Seriously, it's Memorial Day weekend in the United States, and, for everybody. I know there have been a lot of sacrifices made by a lot of different people out there. I just want to say thank you very much to your families. It means a lot. Thank you.
I echo Pierre's sentiment there. And everybody, like I said, have a safe weekend and spend it with your families and watch as much hockey as you can. We'll be back on Monday, even on Memorial Day, here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.